locally on KWTX. Olin Buchanan from TexAgs.com joins us now. And Olin, I'm not sure what the bigger story about A&M is today, if it's that, they had this great class coming off a really rough year, as you know, or if it's Jimbo Fisher saying, yes, he's going to hire an OC who's going to call plays, and he realizes that his focus needs to be elsewhere when it comes to what his job is in College Station.
Well, he's been it's been understood around here for the last month or so that he was eventually going to, whenever it does hire an offensive coordinator, whoever that may be, would be in charge of calling plays. Now, everybody's wearing the headset, so the head coach always has the final say. But if you watched A&M this year, it was obvious that the play calling responsibilities was just, I don't want to say too much for Jimbo, but, he's yelling at an official, and then he's calling a play, and then he's trying to get the right personnel in. And by the time all that happens, a lot of times they're having to burn a timeout because they don't have, not everything's right. They got guys jumping. They're getting a lot of delayed games. So, most, it seems to me, I've never actually wrote it down, but it seems like most coaches now do have a coordinator calling plays. I just think I think that'll make A&M more efficient when they do hire that offensive coordinator, whoever that may be, and he does take over the play calling duty.
And Olin, one of those players that, there'll be several new players that OC will have at their disposal, but I guess let's start with the big quarterback flip. Marcel Reed, Aggies land their QB target for the end of this class, and I know there's still, I guess, more time to fill out the rest of it and transfer portal and all of that, but how big was the Marcel Reed get?
Well, I think it was huge because quite frankly, with the guys transferring out, Haynes King and Eli Stowers, you had Max Johnson and you have Connor Wickman. That's it. And just last season they had to play three quarterbacks. At one point, there was even some talk that a fourth one might play. So getting in another guy, especially a guy that is pretty highly regarded, and that another SEC West team wanted, and the fact that it was that you flipped him from Lane Kiffin makes it even that much sweeter. But that was without a doubt a need. And A&M had a kid, Eli Holstein out of Louisiana, committed early, and then he flipped to Alabama, so they had to try to play catch up on some guys. They went hard after Austin Alderstadt from Dripping Springs, but he decided to stick with the commitment to Baylor, which I understand he did not honor.
Yeah.
So A&M
been a day here, Olin. Been a day.
Yeah. And so to get one again, especially one that was pretty highly regarded, I think, it was a big deal for them.
Yeah, we heard that news last night that he was going to Oregon and not.
That surprises me. I thought he was one of those guys that was, he was 100%. Was 100% locked in. So that really surprised me when I heard that.
Yeah. You were in El Campo today for Ruben Owens signing, the big 5-star running back. He was committed to Louisville for the longest time. This is probably A&M's biggest flip of the ones that they did. Owen, I kind of got the feeling, just not only reading your stuff at TexAgs or everybody else, that pretty much the entire group of people that cover A&M recruiting just never felt like Louisville was a real thing for him. Was it not so much of a surprise when that happened after Scott Satterfield left and took the job for Cincinnati?
Well, I think that Ruben was always, his dad told me today their heart was always with A&M. And, I don't know if you've ever been down to El Campo, but it's a big farming town. So Ruben himself said it's like 90% of the population are Aggies. And he liked A&M. He just kind of liked what he saw. He had some friends going to Louisville that he'd met, in camps and things like that. But he never closed the door on A&M. And A&M told him when he committed, said, "Well, we're gonna keep recruiting you until signing day, and he said that he appreciated it. He liked it. And I think the move from Satterfield, again, gave him a reason, but he told me today that he probably would have flipped anyway.
Olin, who are, I guess a couple of the most important guys? I mean, Ruben Owens, obviously a headliner, Reed, a headliner, but where was kind of your focus in terms of this class?
Well, I thought that they really needed to upgrade or at least get some depth in the offensive line. So being able to close out on T.J. Shanahan from Austin, Westlake, and Chase Basantis from New Jersey, I think was really key. And then anybody that watched the Aggies last year would know there was a huge need at linebackers. Real disappointment that they were not able to hold on to Anthony Hill, but they feel really good about Damian Sanford out of Katy. They had a kid from Temple, Torian York, and even one from College Station that it might be a little bit of a project, but he shows some some athleticism, and his dad's one of the strength coaches at A&M. So they can always use another linebacker. I'm sure they'll be looking for one in the transfer portal. But those were two really huge positions of need, and quite frankly, adding getting the flip from I think it was Arkansas, Micah Teeth out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, as a receiver. That's important, even though they had Bravion Rogers, an athlete out of LaGrange, and Dalton Brooks, an athlete out of Shiner, that they were really excited about. But I think they want to put both those guys on defense. They could play receiver, but I think they want them on defense.
Yeah. Olin, much has been made about the 22 guys in the portal. I think of those 22, maybe 3 of them they would have really liked to stay. I mean, this was clearly the kind of a culling of the herd on that roster, obviously. But who do they need to replace there, like in the transfer portal, that left?
That's a heck of a good question. I think it's more about guys that went into decided to go to the draft. Mm-hmm. I think they need a cornerback. They weren't counting on necessarily on Jalen Jones going into the draft. They had a few guys there that had, that went to the portal. Miles Jones, who had a really good year in 2020, but's been struggling with foot injury the last 2 years. So I don't know what they really expected from him. Brian George has been kind of a stopgap guy since he showed he went to the portal. So I think cornerback is really important, but I don't think it's I don't think the guys they lost. It's very important, but I don't think the guys that went into the portal were the guys that they necessarily hated to lose. Now, Denver Harris, the freshman cornerback, you would have loved to have been able to keep him, but he was he was involved in 2 issues where he was suspended, got in trouble twice. So I think it's the kind of guy that he's got a lot of ability. Wherever he goes up, they're going to get a really good football player. But I think that was one of those things where he could have gone just about anywhere, and he would be in the transfer portal because some of the things that he and Chris Marshall and another guy, P.J. Williams, a tackle, some of the things they were involved in, you just can't keep them around. You've got to let them go. I think the as good as they were, or as good a prospects as they were, sometimes there's got to there may be a mutual agreement that it's time to go.
Oh, and I don't know how quickly he'll see the field, but I can tell you that Torian York pickup, I think, was a really good one. In terms of, like, character, I know that kind of becomes almost cliche. You hear it so often, but, truly, that guy, super hard worker. I think just from, like, a foundational, not foundation like a big-time 5-star type player, but I think from, like, just a program foundation standpoint, Torian York's a really important get just from the hard-working standpoint.
Well, I think, I think after last year, I think, and not just at A&M, a lot of places are going to look really more closely at the quote character aspect of a guy, because so many guys are so quick to go into the portal, and if you got a guy that understands that, hey, I need to work my way into the starting lineup, and from what I hear, York is a really one of those guys that for Temple. you really notice him when he plays, really stand out. But he's going to have to probably put on some weight and adjust to playing at that level. But from what I've been told, he's the kind of guy that would probably understand that it's not, if I'm not showing up on day one in the starting lineup, you're not saying, well, that maybe I need to look elsewhere, and maybe not a guy that's showing up, demanding his, big NIL deal. Where are the boosters for me? So, if he's as high character of guy as I've heard he is, and if he flashes the way I heard he does at Temple, the way he did at Temple, then I understand. Was he not committed to Baylor or something?
He was up until like a week ago. They fired the DC, and I think that had something to do with it. But the more I hear, the more I think just A&M was an attractive option for him.
Well, that's it. So we're talking about a guy that other big time programs are interested in, and it's absolutely a position of need. So I don't want to call him a project like the kid from College Station might be, but if you put some weight on him and get him looking like an SEC linebacker does physically, then what you've seen from his ability, you look at him and think, man, this could really be something, but it may take a year or two.
Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Olin, when do you expect to hear an OC announcement? Do you have any inkling as to what they're going to do? I mean, you have no idea?
Yeah, I have no idea because, quite frankly, I would have bet money that last week that they would have had something. I would have thought they would want to get that done before signing day, and obviously, they didn't. So, you know what? I'm starting to think that maybe, and I don't know this, it's just my own speculation, maybe they've got an agreement with somebody or near an agreement with somebody who is involved with, games coming up. That still has a game coming up. And sometimes those guys have contracts where if they're the coach at a certain place on January 1st, they get a big bonus or something like that. So I'm starting to think that maybe they've got who they want identified, maybe even have an agreement, but they just got to wait for that team's season to be over or for him to get, his most advantageous contract from the previous place. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I'm starting to believe.
Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Olin, thanks a lot. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody up there, too. Thank you so much.
Our good friend Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com.